Let's get into our first topic now. Would Andy Burnham be better as Prime Minister than Keir Starmer? Get your calls in now, 0207 862 2222. The Greater Manchester Mayor has revealed that MPs have been privately asking him if he will challenge the Prime Minister. And now he's even laid out his manifesto of policies that he reckons would turn the country around. They're higher taxes on expensive homes in London and the South East, income tax cuts for lower earners, and £40 billion of borrowing to build council houses. Now, this comes at a time where Keir Starmer's approval rating is at an all-time low. But some Labour MPs have spoken out in defence of Starmer and said that Burnham is not up to it. Do you think he's a better man for the job? Let us know your thoughts. Jemma, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so personally, because for me, the biggest worry coming down the tracks is the possibility of a reform government. And if Keir Starmer continues in this vein and being advised in the way that he's being advised, which seems to be to emulate language that we're seeing from Reform, the populist right, then I think he might as well just open the door and let them in himself. Whereas I think what you need, and I really think it's important for me personally, that we don't have Farage as Prime Minister. I know millions of people will disagree, because we're seeing horrible racist rhetoric on the rise. He was talking about Romanians eating swans the other day. It's absolute nonsense. You know, I personally believe he doesn't want an NHS. He wants to go to an insurance-based system. And by taking away people's indefinite right to leave, that would kill off the NHS. Burnham would offer something bold and something clear and something relatable. And that's what you need as an alternative. And although Labour are supposed to be the progressive left, they're not acting like it. They've been very authoritarian. They've not spoken for millions of people as far as Palestine is concerned. And as I say, this kind of Morgan McSweeney advice,
who's the Keir
chief
Starmer's
of
advisor,
comms, they're like blue Labour, and they're emulating it. And Burnham would be very different, and
be very much on the left.
He would be on the left, but he would also be bold. I think Zach Polanski's doing a great job in cutting through as well, by the way, and Ed Davey as well. But I think the Labour Party, unless, like I say, they're going to open the door to reform, they have got to be a lot better. And I do think Andy Burnham, absolutely, would he be up for the job? Up to the job? Of course he would. He's been very effective as mayor. He's very experienced. He's been an MP, a cabinet minister.
Okay.
He's great.
All right. Full support from Jemma there. Alys?
I mean, I agree with you that he's actually a more credible alternative to reform, but I think he has a lot of the same problems as Keir Starmer, because nobody really knows what he believes in, right? He started out as a Blairite. He has this kind of King of the North shtick, which I find a bit wearisome, given that actually, in fact, he's a Cambridge graduate and a career politician. He started out as a SPAD. He was a cabinet minister under
Special advisor.
Special advisor, cabinet minister, and he's now reinvented himself as this quite left-wing character. I agree he's been an effective mayor, but I think he'd be a disaster as Prime Minister. I think this very left-wing policy agenda he set out is exactly the opposite of what this country needs. When he's talking about he wants us to not be in hock to the bond markets, but at the same time borrowing an extra 40 billion, that makes zero sense at all. The bond markets will react very strongly and make borrowing much more expensive and immiserate this country. He wants to nationalise housing. I mean, if you look at London, where we've had zero housing starts, every developer will tell you it's because it's too expensive because of the affordable housing targets. So I think his policy agenda is a disaster. And I also just find it very hypocritical that he's talking about Labour being run in this very factional way when he's just starting an insurgency of a different faction. He's a hypocrite.
I think this idea that you can't be really, really smart and also have good northern roots and an awareness of how actual people are, I think that's really kind of snobby.
I don't think a northern attack on the South is what this country needs. The South is much more economically productive.
I think the South is absolutely fine. I think we do need to look at the whole
London
country.
contributes 30% of the UK's GDP. If you start having an attack on London, you're just going to make everybody poorer.
Let me ask you this, though.
Let me ask you this, though. He wants to devolve power.
Is what the country needs now more of sort of rhetoric along the lines, and I'm reading from his New Statesman interview that he gave, it said, when you, the government, have lost control of housing, energy, water, rail, buses, you've lost control of the basics of life, you've also lost control of the costs and public spending, i.e. that all these things need to go back to belonging to the government. The question is, how do you pay for that? And he's very, very quick to say, well, we're just going to borrow £40 billion and we shouldn't be ad hoc to the gilt markets. one of the biggest spendings of the government is paying for our debt. It's, I
Okay.
think, our second largest
Yes.
spend other than
More than
health.
defence.
Yes.
But it's more than defence. Is Andy Burnham the kind of person who has a good story to tell, something that's perhaps been lacking from Keir Starmer, but actually when you delve into the details, this could be a disaster
But
for the
you're missing
country.
out bits. You're missing out the fact that he wants an honest conversation about how much Brexit has cost us as well. He's talking about like realigning. That would bring 40 billion back into the Treasury
How?
straight away if you joined the single market, because we're losing out on 100 billion pounds coming into this country every year, and the Treasury would take 40 billion in tax. So that's one thing.
Okay.
But also he wants some seriously sensible conversations about things like that I would absolutely applaud, and taxing wealth as well.
Okay. All right, well, let's find out what people are saying at home. Brian's in Norwich. Brian, welcome to the show. Do you think Andy Burnham could do a better job governing the UK than Starmer?
Without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt.
Why?
He's down to earth. He speaks for the people. You look what he's done in Manchester.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unbelievable. And now, Jemma, you're brilliant, you are. and you know, I'll tell you what. We get rid of Starmer. He ain't down for the people, but Burnham is.
But what makes you say that Andy Burnham is going to be any better than Keir Starmer? Look, a lot of MPs have said, look, when things got tough, right, Andy Burnham rose all the way up to being Health Secretary, I think, just before the 2010 election. And then when things got tough under Jeremy Corbyn, Andy Burnham left Parliament and went off to become Mayor of Manchester. And a lot of MPs are saying, oh, hang on a minute, when things got tough, you left.
What?
When things got tough, Keir Starmer stayed where he's at. This is MPs saying this, not me.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing to say.
That is. I'll tell you what, Alexis.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is down to earth.
Okay.
He's simple as that. And he knows the people. And it's simple as that. Starmer doesn't know the people. I mean, I'm from up north. I'm from Edinburgh.
Yeah.
You know, and I know what hardships. I've lived through them, like in the 70s. Like I'm 71 now. I was 71 yesterday. Happy birthday
happy
to me.
birthday.
But I'll tell you what, we need a change. Definitely need a change.
Okay.
And Labour keep going on about a change, but they're not changing anything.
Okay. I mean, they would argue they've been in charge for about almost coming up to a year and a half. That maybe that's not enough time to make all the big changes that people are expecting. But Brian, you've made your point. Thank you for that. James, do you agree with Brian? Is Andy Burnham the man to save Britain?
No.
James?
No.
Why not?
He's not, because I call him and Rotherham, the Liverpool guy, I call him the two puppets.
Right,
That
why?
that guy couldn't run a bath. Burnham. I've met him. My son's met him.
Right.
Couldn't run a bath.
Well, he does run Manchester, and he runs it very well, according to.
Well, I'll tell you what, when he was Health
sources.
Secretary, he presided over mid-staff, the biggest disaster in the NHS we've ever had. So I'm not sure how effective he is, actually.
I just want to say, I think also when he left, when the Corbyn administration came in, he didn't disappear. He went and became Mayor of Manchester.
Sure.
I'd say that's a hugely stressful, big job.
Sure, but I'm interested, James, well, why are you so unconvinced by him?
He's not even an MP.
Okay,
Listen,
well, those are the
he's a con-
difficulties
no,
that...
He's a con merchant. He's a kid of knowledge, I call him. I call him the kid on. You can see it in his face. That guy couldn't run a bath.
OK, all right, you've made that point. Thank you, James. Let's speak to Jeff, who is in Greater Manchester. Jeff, he's your mayor. Do you think he's going to be a better Prime Minister than Keir Starmer?
Yeah. Sooner have a trained chimp than Starmer.
You sooner had a trained chimp than Starmer?
Yeah.
Right, well,
Andy
what makes
Burnham
Andy
is the one.
Burnham better, in your point of view?
He's done a lot for Manchester and he could do better. Starmer just dithers and, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and he don't do it.
I think the trouble with Starmer is he's a technocrat and he's a terrible communicator. And there are some
What if he gets results?
There are some things that Labour slowly are doing, things with education, for instance. It's not communicated. And I'm afraid, Alexis, for me, that's not good enough at this stage. It's like the Democrats in America. They let Trump in and look at the state of things over there. I don't want to live somewhere like that. And that is what Farage promises.
Alice, what we've been hearing is that... Andy Burnham's a great communicator. He's got a story to tell. He can engage with the people. Is results-based politics out? And we're sticking with personality-based politics. Look at Boris Johnson, right? The personality is what won it for Boris Johnson. Hardly the policies. Are we going back to that?
It definitely feels like we're in much more of an era of personality politics. And I think, look, he does appeal to a very certain specific demographic, right? He's been an effective kind of embodiment of Manchester. I think he did a really good job of standing up for his city during the pandemic. And in the Manchester Arena bombing, he's been a great figurehead for that city. That doesn't mean he represents the entire country. He certainly doesn't represent, I think, people like me, people who work in the city. He despises the South. He despises wealth. And I think that's a problem for him. I think it's appealing to some and alienating to others.
I'm not sure we can say he despises it. I think he wants to tax it.
And also, I'm sorry, I think we've got enough wealth concentrated, given that the top 50 families in this country have more wealth than the bottom 50% of the population
they pay a lot of tax
combined. Yes, I know, but the idea that you would rather have somebody that represents the 1% than
I didn't say
like
that.
Everybody else.
I don't think he's a national leader. I think he appeals to a very particular demographic.
OK. All right. Jeff, thank you. Steve's in Warwickshire. Steve, welcome to the show. Do you think Andy Burnham would do a better job than Sir Keir Starmer?
One of my German shepherds would do a better job than Keir Starmer, unfortunately. They're more compassionate to the young than to the elderly.
Right.
I'm sorry, every politician in this country at the moment seems to be a human rights lawyer. Lawyers should not run for politics.
Steve, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. That's not strictly true, but I see your point. I mean, what upsets you so much about someone being a human rights lawyer and being a politician? What do you find wrong in that?
A lawyer can never be objective. They only see one side of the story. I've just recently dealt with lawyers due to an eviction.
Right.
They are there for their own gains. That's the whole point. We have a human rights lawyer
acting for parties, Steve. I mean, I'm just trying to. I know it's clear you don't like Keir Starmer, but why do you think Andy Burnham would do a better job?
He acts more for the people.
Right.
Aren't politicians there to act for the people who voted them in?
Okay.
This country at the moment don't want a lot of what Starmer is preaching, but he's not listening.
Okay, Steve. Thank you for your point. Elizabeth's in Manchester. Elizabeth, do you think that your mayor would be a better Prime Minister than Keir Starmer?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Do. Because when he was an MP in Lee, I hadn't got a doctor. I'd been to 10 doctors.
Yeah.
And every doctor couldn't take me on the panel. They were full up. I wrote to Andy Burnham, and he personally wrote back, and he said to me, I will get you a doctor. Within 3 days, I had a doctor, I had a letter back off him. I met him. He's a lovely person. And going to, university or whatever, he's down to earth. He's a nice guy. He's got a family. And he actually speaks to you. He speaks to you. He knows what you're going through, and he speaks to you. And he's a nice person.
Elizabeth, thank you. And thank you for getting in touch. That's Elizabeth having that sort of lived experience with Andy Burnham. And is that the thing, Alys, that no matter what the results will be, and of course we're not due for an election for another 3 to 4 years, no matter what the results will be, the problem for Keir Starmer is he's seen as someone who hasn't been able to connect directly with the electorate.
Yeah, he's extremely robotic, and you're right, he's a terrible communicator. He really doesn't give the impression that he understands real people. And that's a lovely story about Andy Burnham, but I would say, that is an MP's job.
And I'm sure there are similar stories for Keir Starmer.
Absolutely. I think
constituents being helped directly.
I don't think there are any for Nigel Farage and Clacton, though, and I keep going back to who is going to see him off. And I think Andy Burnham.
I mean,
over
I
Starmer.
completely agree. I think he is at least a credible alternative to reform. He would give people a choice between a very left-wing, I think, very damaging and dangerous platform and a right-wing, in many ways, equally damaging and dangerous platform. But I don't see how he gets to challenge Keir Starmer. I think it's
that's the one thing we can't figure out.
That's the thing that we haven't touched upon, because really it's in Keir Starmer's gift to allow Andy Burnham back into Parliament in order then to open the door to be challenged. I think he needs about 80 Labour MPs to put that challenge down. But Andy Burnham getting to Parliament, i.e. winning a by-election somewhere, is going to be tricky because that needs to be approved by
and
Labour
going back
Party
to
itself.
motivation, I don't think Andy Burnham particularly wanted the big job. He's been on record many times saying no thanks. I think he genuinely wants.
Twice before.
Yes, he did, and he fancied it then. And then I think he's loved living in Manchester, loved being the mayor. I genuinely think he's like, I'll do it if we need to.
But it's interesting that he stood up for election twice and been beaten. This would be the third time. And many Labour MPs are saying, look, Andy Burnham is not the solution to the problem that Labour are facing.
But then they've got to change their entire comms team, Labour, and quickly, and stop emulating them and being fake and being all sort of faux weird about flags.
And also, we should say, there's another Labour source this morning being reported in the Huffington Post saying what Keir Starmer should do is get Andy Burnham straight into Cabinet, because that is going to show people how incompetent, in their point of view, Andy Burnham will be in Cabinet. I mean, it's not quite right. He might be popular with the Labour voters, but I'm not sure he's that popular with Labour MPs. Certainly not in the same way that he captures the voters.
I think causing trouble in this way will make him even more unpopular. It's quite odd to blatantly launch this leadership challenge when you have no platform on which to do so. It seems like perhaps he is just trying to cause trouble, or maybe it is, as you suggest, this kind of 4D chess to get himself in the Lords.
Well, it's going to be a very interesting Labour conference that is due to kick off this weekend. Now, look, it's time for us to move on. Don't forget.